Do you have a need for insane amounts of cobblestone, or even just regular stone? Are you too lazy to go out into the world and mine it? Well, have I got some options for you. Behind me, you can see two different machines. Although they work very similarly, they have different expenses and some technicalities on how they work. And then we've got ye old good fashioned way. So let's start with cobblestone generators, and then we'll get into the machines. All right, and to start with cobblestone generators, I have set up a few things in this box here. Now, the first thing I have is I have an efficiency 5 unbreaking 3 pick. And I have this cobblestone generator. Basically, the way this works, this will generate smooth stone because lava is flowing onto moving water. And I got slab over here to let me get in and all of that kind of stuff, right? So the biggest thing when you set these up is you want to make sure your lava doesn't directly touch your water. Otherwise, it turns to obsidian and you get sad. All right. So now that we have that, let's go over to survival so that we can see like speed and rates. So with just an efficiency 5 pick, you can see I get about 3 or 4 blocks deep before I stop having any effect. Now, the great thing is with our beacon, we can come in and we can turn it to haste 2. Boom, boom, check mark. Right now we got turbo mining speed. So this thing will now generate stone basically, or we can mine stone as fast as this thing can generate it. You can only reach up to 5 blocks away. So a generator that's 5 long like this is what you need. And in this case, I'm using a regular pick. If I wanted to put silk touch on here, I would be gathering smooth stone. Now, if you have no need for ye old smooth stone, but you do have a need for insane amounts of cobble, that's where these two bad boys come in. They're both just cobblestone generators with automatic TNT duper collection systems. So basically the same thing, but that one's fancier. This one's more basic, but they'll both get the job done for you. So over here, all right, here we go. We can actually watch this at work. So this thing is going to perpetually, over and over again, duplicate TNT. It's the same design I'm using over there. The duper is not my design. It's something that I've been using for a long time that I learned on YouTube. No idea who invented it, to be quite frank with you. All right, now let's get this machine pumping. So you'll see that I've got a clock down here. This is an etho hopper clock like we've talked. I believe I have 8 blocks in it. And I'm using the redstone that locks the hoppers to also power on and off my line of repeaters into my blocks, into my pistons. And then I'm using an observer on this side to bring a signal up and over onto this top set of pistons. Okay, so the way that this is working, we can actually watch it in action from the side. When these guys power or try to power just a fraction after them. So they can't move anything up until, or I mean anything out until after everything's kind of cycled through. So I get this back and forth push up, push over, push up, push over. And it's because of this observer here. Every time stuff updates over there, he sends out a little pulse and update. So it doesn't matter if it turns on or off. Because this stuff is in front of the observer, this stuff is moving a fraction of a moment before this guy can power the stuff up top. So this will always move first. Let's see. Okay. All right. So we can come up here now, and we can kind of start to see what's going on. It's pushing this stuff up here with those back pistons and dropping TNT directly on top of the cobblestone and blowing it up. And when it blows up, it gets caught in our water stream, comes down here, and boom. And this thing's only been running for a few moments. In fact, let's go ahead and empty it out just so we can see. Boo, 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 boo. There we go. But yeah, you can see we're getting a few cobblestone every few minutes. Or not every few minutes. We're getting a few cobblestone every time this thing cycles. So we're at 33, another TNT. We're up to 43, so that was 10 right there. Now, one thing you'll notice, this TNT, if it falls in the water, and we'll watch that here in a moment, will not do any damage to anything. TNT in water is safe. It's scary. Oh no, our pick of destiny. Okay, that's fine. So that's how this guy works. Now this one over here is bigger. It's more industrial. It's awesome. Or at least that's what I tell myself. All right, so you'll see a handful of things. One, there's this giant observer line. All it is a lazy way to turn my TNT duplicator on and off. There's a lot of other ways to do this. This was just the quick one I did. But this is going to work in a very similar fashion, except right now the thing turning the machine off is these pistons, which are going across here. When they come down, they're sticky pistons, so they'll pull those blocks back. My cobblestone's actually going to be generated right across down here. And once it generates, once again, these guys will push it up. Or I'm sorry. No, the sticky pistons back here will pull it back into line here, so it's getting generated here. And then these ones down below will push it up. So let's just go ahead and fire it off so you can see the sequence in action. And this one is substantially faster than the other one. You can see my TNT duplicator turned on as well. There we go. There. But this one has a added benefit. It will continue to get taller up to a certain point, right? This one's extremely expensive though. This is an observer wall that is, this outside section is all looking down into these observers, which is being initially powered by this observer. When this wall gets pushed up, he sees something happen, sends a signal back, which all of these guys see, which then all of these guys see. These are all looking into this wall back here, and then they fire into my pistons, and then I get this big old effect going on. There's cheaper ways to fire off a piston wall. This one just happened to be the easy one that worked for this. Boom. All right. And you can see, just like before, all of a sudden now we're starting to collect cobblestone. And the further this one gets into running, once it gets the fourth and a little bit of the fifth layer going, this cobblestone basically just never stops filling. Yeah, see, pretty much non-stop cobble. All right, so as far as how these machines work as a whole, the biggest thing is our repeaters. They are just set down on the ground. They are literally just powering this cobblestone bunch right here, which once the stuff down here is powered, this will push up, right? And it can only push up as high as I've allowed it here. I could actually bring this obsidian wall down to this level if I wanted, so this whole section not actually needed, right? So anyway, this pushes up, and it's going to push up 2 blocks at a time. This guy is 3 blocks above to give me some space and clearance, and that was mostly just so that I had enough room to put in this obsidian and this water here. Okay. You could do this lower if you wanted to, but as you can see, I'm already getting really tight on my space here. I've got 1 block of clearance right here, so at most, really, I could bring this down 1 more block, or I'd have to go down with the rest of this, which then defeats the purpose of bringing that down. So once he pushes up, he can only push up so much at a time. So you see this filled up? So he's already at his push limit. There's nothing more he can do. So the next signal that comes through, this guy over here is going to get the signal to go ahead and push through, which is going to continue pushing our cobblestone wall out this way. See? But the problem that we were kind of seeing over there, the firewall, for whatever reason, doesn't like to blow up as much. So sometimes the sides will hit their push limits. So it'll only be these center bits firing. But since he's at his push limit, can't push anymore, doesn't matter how hard he tries. Boom. But I've also got this timed, so it shouldn't come up that often. Yeah, we were at a push limit there again for a moment on these guys. Yeah, you see only those center pistons were firing there. Now, it looks like we'll probably hit that again here. No, on the next one then. But there you go. So that's how that works. The TNT duper, I will do a separate, well, nah, maybe I'll do a separate video on this. This is someone else's design, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but super long story short, there's a detector rail under this cart. It rolls back and forth on it when it gets pushed with the slime, which causes an update here. This fence post is taller than a slime block, so it doesn't look like it, but it's actually keeping that minecart from rolling off the end. So the detector rail, when this guy does his thing, updates the slime, which powers our TNT, which drops it. And something with this fan coral and update order makes it so that the TNT itself that you put on originally doesn't explode or ignite. Instead, for whatever reason, it causes it so that it duplicates the TNT. One's going to be in entity form, which is that. One's going to be in block form, which is that. And it does a thing. I'm not going to lie, I'm not 100% sure why it duplicates the TNT. Right? But really, this guy does virtually the same thing. Now, one thing I did, anytime I turn my power switch on or off, this TNT duper, it is set up exactly the same way. And I'm just using that etho hopper clock like I've used in other things to power this guy on and off. See? Boom, 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 boom. And I've got like 5 items in here, it looks like. All right. But anyway, when I power that switch, it sends a pulse up here. Sticky piston, redstone block. Once the redstone block's on here, locks the hopper. So it's a good remote switch. It's expensive, but it works. All right. This guy, water comes over here. And when the update happens here, this guy sees everything happen, and he pushes this block with a sticky piston in front of this observer. This observer is firing 2 things at once. One, we have a chain very similar to what we had on the other side, pushing from the bottom. Okay. And then we have a chain on top, or I guess it's actually pulling from the side. So you see the generations happening over here. right? So then he grabs and pulls it back, and he gets a chance to push. Boom, boom. So he's pushing up, you're pulling back, and it's going into this wall. This whole wall, like I said before, this observer right here is just looking at the wall, and I'm just doing some really lazy observer stuff to get this to power. In fact, you can kind of see the observers as they go through are getting their pulse kind of all in sequence, which is why you'll see this thing kind of does a weird cascade thing all the way across, right? Over here, I have the TNT set up to fall on this itty bitty platform, which then explodes out this wall and gives us cobblestone. Boom. And then, of course, hopper collection, same way that I've done with a great many other things. So this part's not special. It's just these two hoppers are pointed into here. These three are coming this way. These three are going that way. And I did the same thing over there on the water stream. One big detail when you're playing with TNT, if I did not have things set up the right way, I could very easily be blowing up like my hopper line back here for this one. The rest of it, I built it far enough away. This stuff's not really in danger. Although there is an exception. Let's go over here. Redstone. TNT. Tools. Flint and steel. So one thing that can happen, if you have two TNT go off, basically one before the other, your second one gets thrown. Did you see that? So when it gets thrown, in fact, let's go ahead and 1, 2, 1. Yeah. So that was pretty minuscule, nothing ginormous, but they can get thrown up, left, right, side to side, the whole 9 yards. So you do want to make sure that your TNT is not going off at weird times and such. But that's kind of a trial and error, and that's what creative's for. Hi, Mob Farm. But anyway, couple of ways to get yourself infinite smooth stone, infinite cobble. Although smooth stone still requires a pick. Yeah, yuck, work. But like I said, hope you learned something. Hope this was helpful. And I will try to be a little bit more kind of on the forward side of some of the timings and things when I start putting stuff together, because it's a little hard to grasp and it's kind of whatever. So I will continue to work on that. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you again on the next one. Bye now.